How's it going, everyone, and welcome to today's video where we are going to be working on SQLZOO questions again. This is going to be the select within select tutorial. It's a little bit challenging compared to the previous sections that we've done, but with enough practice and enough patience, I think you will start to get an understanding for it, and hopefully this video can kind of help you as well. So we'll look at question number 1. It says, select each country name where the population is larger than that of Russia. So what I'll do is I'll write the query down and then I'll explain afterwards what the query is actually doing. Okay, so if we take a look at here, we can see that we are selecting the names of all the countries within the world table that have a population greater than that of Russia. So if we break down the query step by step, we can see that we have a main query that says select name from world where population. It's asking to return the name column from the world table, and the where clause is used to filter the countries based on its population, but the condition is provided through the subquery, which is going to be this right here. And the subquery, select population from world where name equals Russia, is selecting the population column from the world table where the name of the country is Russia. So it's going to return a single value, which is going to be Russia's population. And when you combine the main query and the subquery together, it uses the result of the subquery, which is Russia's population, and compares it to the population of each country in the world. So what's going to happen is only the countries whose populations are greater than that of Russia are going to be included in the result. So you can see right here, this is why we get this result right here. So then let's go down to question number 2. It says show the countries in Europe where its per capita GDP is greater than that of the United Kingdom. So select name from world where continent equals Europe and GDP divided by population. That's how we get GDP per capita is greater than GDP per capita of the United Kingdom. Let's run that, make sure we did everything okay. Okay, that's correct. So to break down what's happening is this query is pretty much selecting the names of all the countries in Europe, but specifically those countries whose GDP per capita is higher than that of the United Kingdom. So we're going to select name, meaning we're going to return the name column, but we want to see the names of countries specifically for the continent of Europe. And then the way we do that is we select the name column from the world table where continent equals Europe, as I mentioned before, and the GDP per capita, which is calculated by GDP divided by population, is greater than the GDP per population of the United Kingdom. And the way we do that is that query is going to filter to only include countries where its GDP per capita is greater than the specific per capita of the United Kingdom, which, as I mentioned, that's calculated in the subquery. And the subquery, what it does is it selects the GDP per capita of the United Kingdom, which, as I mentioned, is GDP divided by population. So then when you combine the main query and the subquery, you can see that it only includes the names of European countries who have a higher GDP per capita compared to the United Kingdom, which is going to give you the name of these countries right here, starting with Andorra, ending down in Switzerland. So let's go to question number 3. And we can see that it says list the name and the continent of countries in the continents containing either Argentina or Australia. Order by name of the country. So the way we're going to do this is, let me show you. Select name and continent from world, where continent in, select. Here, how about I do this just to make it more clear? We're going to say select continent from world, where name in Argentina or Australia and we're also going to order by name ascending. Let's make sure we run that and get the correct answer. Okay. So this query, the way it works is it's selecting the names and the continents of countries that are located in the same continent as Argentina and Australia. So in the first part of our query, we select name and continent, which is selecting the two columns, the name of the countries and the continent which the country belongs to from the world table, where continent in, which what this does is we are filtering the results to include only countries that are in the same continent that Argentina and Australia are in. And that list is going to be determined by our subquery. And then at the end, we're going to order it by name ascending, meaning, remember, ascending means alphabetical order, starting from A all the way to Z. And that's why you can see the name Argentina is what we're beginning with. So to break down the subquery just a little bit more for you guys, the select continent selects the continent for Argentina and Australia from the world table, where name in Argentina and Australia, it filters the rows to only include Argentina and Australia. And because Argentina is located in South America and Australia is located in Oceania, that's what you're going to get. You're going to get South America and Oceania as your continents. When you combine the main query and the subquery, it retrieves the names and the continents of all those countries that are located within South America and Oceania. And then the final result is going to be, like I said, in alphabetical order by country name. So let's go down to question number 4. It says, which country has a population that is more than the United Kingdom but less than Germany? So we're going to say select name, population from world, where population is greater than population of the United Kingdom, and its population is less than the population of Germany. Let's run it and make sure we did it correctly. Okay, here we go. These are the countries. So let's break down what's going on here. So we can see that this query, is going to give us the names and population of countries whose population is greater than that of the United Kingdom but is less than that of Germany. And then we can see in the main query that we select the name and population, which gives us those two columns from the world table, where population, this filter is going to return the countries with a population larger than that of the population of United Kingdom, and then the population that's less than the population of Germany. So you can see that we have two subqueries. The first subquery selects the population of United Kingdom from the world table, and then the second subquery selects the population from Germany from the world table. So when you combine the main query and the subqueries, it compares the population of each country in the world table against these two subqueries. So the population has to be greater than the population of United Kingdom, but also less than the population of Germany. And then we can see that it's going to provide us with the names of these countries right here that would fit that criteria. Let's go down to question number 5. This one's a little bit tricky, but I'm going to try my best to break it down for you guys. So it says, show the name and population of each country in Europe, but show the population of the country as a percentage of the population of Germany. Meaning we want to know how much is the population of those countries in Europe compared to the population of Germany, which the way we do that is we divide the population of those countries by the population of Germany. So we're going to say select name and population from world where continent equals Europe. Let's run that. So that's going to give us the population of all these countries. Now we know right here that we want to create an alias. So population as percentage. Okay. But we don't have a percentage. So the way we do that is we're going to say population divided by select population from world where name equals Germany. And there we go right here. But there's two things that we need to take care of. We can see right here the percentage is, it has a decimal, so we want to get rid of that. And it's also, in order for us to actually turn it into a percentage, we need to times it by 100. So the way we're going to do that is we're going to do 100 times the population, and that's going to convert it to an actual percentage number. But then we also want to get rid of the decimal places, so we're going to use the round function. Okay, but then also we need a percentage sign, and the way we can add a percentage sign is by using the concatenate function. So concatenate, and then right here we want to add a comma in single quotes percentage sign and a closing parentheses, and there you can see. Now I know it's not saying correct on here, but it's an error on the website. 100% this is the correct answer. And we can see right here Albania, Andorra, Australia 3%, 0%, 11%. This is some sort of weird error with the website. I'm not sure why it's not giving us a correct answer, but just know that this is the correct way to write the query. Now let's break down kind of how we did this. So it's calculating, make sure I'm looking at the correct question right here. Okay, so it's calculating the population of each European country as a percentage of Germany's population. So we're going to select the name column, which represents the name of the country from the world table. And then our second column, as we break it down, calculates the population of each country as a percentage of Germany's population. So first off, like we said, we have to divide the population by Germany's population, and the way we do that is we insert a subquery into our select statement right here. But then after that, we want to make sure that we multiply the country's population by 100 to express the percentage. And then when we want to get rid of the decimal places, we use the round function. That's going to round it to the nearest whole number. And then lastly, we use the concatenate function, which is going to combine the rounded percentage with the percentage symbol. So it's going to look like a percentage value. And then also we want to make sure we have an alias. And what that really does is just, gives us a new name for the final result for our new column to make it look prettier. Obviously from the world table, where the continent equals Europe, because we're looking for countries inside of Europe. And when you combine the main query and the subquery, it retrieves the population of Germany, which is then used to calculate for all European countries to determine its percentage compared to Germany's population. And we know that Germany's population is kind of around like 80 to 85 million. And at that point, that kind of gives you the percentages that you're looking for. Hopefully that makes sense. Let's go on to the next question. It's going to be question number 6. It says, to gain an absurdly detailed view of one insignificant feature of the language, read on. We can use the word all to allow greater than or equal to, greater than, less than or equal to act over a list. We can find the largest country within the world table by population with this query. You need the condition population greater than 0 in the subquery, as some countries have a null for population. But what happened? But let's go ahead and do number 6. Okay, so let's go ahead and do number 6. And it says, which countries have a GDP greater than every country in Europe? Give the name only. Some countries may have a null GDP value. So we say select name from world where GDP is greater than the GDP of all countries within Europe. But we want to make sure we acknowledge the null values, so we say and GDP is not null. So let's run it. Oops, we did something wrong. Select name from world where GDP, oh, we forgot our all. Okay, so China, Japan, and the United States have a GDP that's greater than any country in Europe. So to break down what's going on, with this query, we're trying to select the names of countries whose GDP is greater than the GDP of all European countries. We select the name column, and then from the world table, where the GDP is greater than all, and what this does is this condition filters the countries based on their GDP. It includes those countries whose GDP is greater than the GDP of all European countries, which is defined in the subquery. It means that the country's GDP must be greater than every single GDP returned by the subquery in Europe. Pretty much like, in other words, this will return countries who have a GDP higher than that of any country in Europe. To kind of better understand the subquery, it's selecting the GDP values from the world table, and then where the continent equals Europe, it filters for countries that are specifically in Europe. And we also want to make sure that we say GDP is not null, because it ensures that only countries who have a valid GDP value are considered, and if there's any country that has a null value for its GDP, it's going to be excluded. So when you combine the main query and the subquery, it compares the GDP of every country in the world table against the GDP of every European country. The GDP greater than all operator ensures that the country's GDP is higher than that of all GDP values returned in the subquery, which pretty much means that the query will find the countries whose GDP is greater than the highest GDP among all European countries. I know I'm kind of repeating myself, but that's pretty much what's going on here. Let's go down to question number 7. This one's a little bit tricky as well. It's asking us to find the largest country by area in each continent, show the continent, the name, and the area. Okay, so this is the query that we're going to need to answer this question. And to explain to you what's going on, this query is specifically designed to find the country with the largest area in each continent. So we want to know for all the different continents, Africa, North America, South America, Asia, Caribbean, Europe, etc., which country has the greatest area, and only that specific country, not others. And the way we're going to do that is pretty much we're going to have a main query and then a subquery. So in the main query, we want to select the continent, name, and area columns from the world table, but we're going to give it alias because it's going to be used to reference the table in the subquery that we're going to use in just a second. And then for our filter, the where clause ensures that only countries with the largest area to their respective continents are included in the result. And then we say area equals, which compares the area of each country in the first query, W1 table, to the result of the subquery, which finds the maximum area in each continent. So to break down the subquery, we can see that max area returns the largest area in a given continent from world as W2. So it's going to use the world table but a different alias so that the main query and the subquery can compare its values. And then where continent from the first table equals continent from the second table. And what this does is it ensures that the subquery calculates the maximum area for the countries in the same continent as the one being checked by the main query. Essentially what's going on is the subquery finds the largest country for each continent as specified in the continent column of the first table. So if we come down, we can see that for our results, Algeria is considered the country with the largest area in Africa, Australia and Oceania, Brazil and South America, Canada and North America, China and Asia, etc., etc. And it says here, the above example is known as a correlated or synchronized subquery. Let's go down to question number 8. And it's asking us to list each continent and the name of the country that comes first alphabetically. So this one is very similar to the one we just did, but rather than looking at the country with the largest area. We're looking at the country within its continent whose name would be first if we consider alphabetical order. So if we look over here, we can see that in the main query we're selecting continent and name columns from the world table, and we give it an alias where the name equals, which filters the results to include only the country with alphabetically the first name for each continent. And then if we take a look at our subquery, when we say the minimum name, the min function returns the smallest country name, which would be considered alphabetical order A, and then from world as W2 for the second table, and then where continent from table 1 equals continent from table 2, which again, like we said in the other question, ensures the subquery finds the alphabetical first country name within the same continent as the country being evaluated from the main query. And once we do that, we can see that we get these countries as a result. Let's go down to question number 9. It says difficult questions that utilizes techniques not covered in prior sections. So again, these questions kind of get more and more harder, but they just take some practice. So let's run the query. So select name, continent, population. So it says find the continents where all the countries have a population of at least 25 million or less. So equal to 25 million or less. Then find the names of those countries associated with these continents. Show the name, continent, and population. Okay. From world, where continent in select continent from world, and then we want to make sure we group by continent having max population less than or equal to 25 million. And let's run that. And yes, that's considered a correct answer. So just to make this look a little bit better for you guys, I'm gonna go like this. Okay, so let me try to explain the best I can what's going on here. So we're selecting the names, the continents, and the populations of the countries that are located in continents where the most populous country has a population of 25 million or less. So we have our main query where we're selecting the name, continent, and population columns from the world table. And then for our filtering, we say where continent in. Basically, this condition filters the results to include only countries located on continents where the most populous country has a population of 25 million or less. So then we have our subquery. Our select statement selects continent from the world table, and then we group by continent. This means that all the countries in the same continent are grouped together for the purpose of the having clause. That's where we're going to define, that's where we're going to use the having clause to filter the group continents. It checks for the largest population using max population of any country in that continent, which is going to be less than or equal to 25 million. And then pretty much what's happening is the subquery is identifying all the continents where the most populous country has a population of 25 million or less. Our main query is then retrieving the name, the continent, and the population of all these countries located within those continents. And then when you can see, these are the results of those countries and its associated continents, and it's also its population. Now for the last question, it says 3 times bigger. Some countries have populations more than 3 times of that of all of their neighbors. Neighbors meaning like if you have a country that shares borders with other countries, those are going to be considered its neighbors within the same continent. Give the countries and its continents. So we're going to say select name continent from world as W1, where population is greater than 3 times the maximum population of the continent you want to make sure that it doesn't select the country itself. Let's run it here real quick. Uh-oh, we got an error. Line 3. Let's see what we're doing wrong. Oh, forgot our where clause. Okay. So this is a bit confusing, but I'm going to try my best to explain it to you guys because it gets a little bit messy. So pretty much the query is designed to find the countries whose populations is more than 3 times the population of the most populous country in its continent, excluding itself. That's why right here we have the name continent not equaling the name continent from the separate tables. So in our main query, we select the name and continent, and then from world as W1, it pulls data from the world table, giving it an alias for our main query. And then where population is greater than 3 times, it filters countries based on their population. It checks whether the country's population is greater than 3 times the population of the most populous country in its continent, which is going to be end up being determined by the subquery that we're going to run next. So then we say select max population, which finds the largest population in the same continent from the world table. It works on the world table but gives it an alias of W2 to distinguish it from the first table that we used in the main query. We always have to do that, where W1 continent equals W2 continent. This condition, what it does is it ensures that the subquery is restricted to the same continent as the country being checked by the main query. And then W1 name does not equal W2 name. What this does is it ensures that the subquery it excludes the country being evaluated in the main query. Pretty much it's the subquery is calculating the maximum population of all countries in the same continent except for the current country that's in the first table. So pretty much the way it works is the main query evaluates each country. The subquery finds the most populous country within in the same continent, but it excludes the country that's being evaluated by the main query. And then the query checks whether its population of the country in the main query is more than 3 times larger than the populous country in the same continent, as determined by the subquery. So we can see that Australia, Brazil, and Russia are those 3 countries. And that's it, guys. Thank you for watching the video. I know some of these questions can be very challenging and difficult, but try to practice them as much as you can. Do some more research online. Do some more different types of questions that are similar to this. Hopefully this video helped you not only solve these questions, but understand a little bit better the reasoning behind them. Please give the video a thumbs up and a like. Subscribe if you like, and I will look forward to seeing you in the next video.